Each signal has its own unique spectral plot. The frequency spectrum plots of a sine wave, square wave, AM function, FM function, swept signal, ASK, amplitude shift keying, FSK, frequency shift keying, PSK, phase shift keying, triangular wave, noise function. The noise at the output of a bandpass filter. The addition of two sinusoidal waves and spectrum plots of other signals illustrate one basic fact about signals. And that is, a signal is a composition of a number of sinusoidal functions with given amplitude, frequency, and phase. By definition, the sine of an angle of a right triangle with a hypotenuse of 1, is the length of the side opposite to that angle. Consider a wheel rotating at a constant speed. If we mark a point on the wheel and plot its height on a xy axis, after a while the plot will have the shape of a sine wave. A wheel with different radius, starting time and angular speed results in respectively, a different amplitude, phase, and frequency, the three parameters of a sine signal. As mentioned, a periodical signal can be described as the addition of a number of sine waves. For example, a square function of f is the composition of sine of f, 1/3 sine of 3f, 1/5 sine of 5f, and so on. A triangle wave can be defined in a similar fashion. With an arbitrary waveform generator, we can make a sawtooth of f by adding sine of f to half of sine of 2f, and 1/3 sine of 3f, and 1/4 sine of 4f, and so on. In fact, each random signal can be characterized as the summation of certain sine functions. Using an online calculator helps verifying this point for various signals. The composition of a signal makes its spectrum plot. The plot of an ideal sine wave has only one frequency component. However, spectral of real-world sine waves are not pure. A spectrum analyzer shows these impurities. Note that, the accuracy of a spectrum analyzer is itself limited by several factors resulting in a noise floor and another issue called spectral leakage. Exploring the frequency plots of various signals demonstrates the power and versatility of a spectrum analyzer. A sine wave produces the simplest plot. It has one dominant peak at the frequency of the signal, representing the amplitude of the wave. Naturally, as the frequency increases, the horizontal position of the peak changes. A square wave has also one dominant peak, however, as can be understood from the plot, it is the addition of a large number of sine waves. Perhaps, the information provided by a spectrum plot can be best appreciated when the time domain representation of a signal provides very little information. Consider the superposition of three different sine waves with frequencies of 10, 22, and 44 MHz. The composition of the signal is immediately apparent from the frequency plot. In real life, analyzing signals could be quite more challenging, like the spectrum of this FSK signal. It has a 1 MHz and 3 MHz waves which are shift-keyed at 100 kHz rate. An oscilloscope displays part of the signal. However, zooming on the spectrum plot's area of interest reveals the detail information of the FSK signal. In some applications such as LF radio, often the area of interest in the spectrum plot occupies a narrow band. Zooming on the band reveals much about the signal. As it is evident from this example in which the main components of the signal fall between a frequency range of about 100 kHz to 700 kHz. A spectrum analyzer is indeed a powerful tool, which could offer a unique perspective in analyzing signals. In other tutorials, we cover more topics about this subject. We appreciate your suggestions, input and feedback.